talk about this area being the lost province and how important that is in our history and in our journey as a community, because we were cut off. This area was cut off from really resources and avenues, and truly you had to be really more intentional to get to this region and area, and therefore people had to step up. They couldn't wait on others to help. They had to find a way and figure out a way to solve problems, to take care of one another, to navigate any number of challenges that they faced and face as a community. And certainly Western North Carolina has been that way and has faced those challenges. That philosophy, that framework, that way of life just is what it is. That's grounded into who we are. And the ways in which that showed up in this storm, I think, was really powerful. And we still lean on each other as we continue to move forward, because it will continue to be a recovery process even as we move forward together.
I think you saw the Appalachian State community, both the town of Boone and the university, synergize around that storm and the events. If there's one great positive that came out of the event, I think it's just the togetherness that it created. There are a tremendous amount of individuals that give their all for this university, but they were very selfless in providing help to the university, putting it before some of their own needs in many cases.
Yeah, the teams we have here at App State are incredible. This is where I get choked up because they're incredible. And there's so many stories of what people did in spite of their own personal circumstances. I think about one of our housing staff members who's a maintenance person in housing, and asked him the night of the storm, met him in the dining hall, and I asked him, "Hey, how's your family?" And he looked at me and teared up and said, "My house is gone. It's gone. I lost my house, and my son lost his house today too." And here he was, working all day, working in our dining hall, making sure our residence halls were safe and navigating whatever it was that needed to be done. And I'm so grateful because of their commitment to our people, our community, our campus. And I understand that in a different way now about being here, being committed to this community, for our family's commitment to this community, because of the people and because of the way people helped each other. To me, that is the new bar for me on community and how we collaborate, because we can do hard things together.
Having generations of my family, having lived here, I know this all too well. We're resilient, and we take care of whatever comes our way. And what that meant in those moments after the storm hit was that people were out with chainsaws. They were out with shovels. They were out with ATVs, with mules and horses, and whatever means they had to start addressing the damage that had occurred right before their very eyes. They didn't wait.
The resiliency of mountain folk, it never ceases to amaze me. One of the stories I like to tell is I was sitting there with this gentleman from down east, and he looked at me and he said, "Charlie, this has got to be the darndest bunch of people I've ever seen." He was like, "You people go out with a chainsaw, a boat, and whatever you can find. It's just like you're out doing the work before anybody can get there to help you." They said, "This is the darndest bunch of people." And I said, "No." I said, "This is what mountain people do. You're here to take care of each other. It's how we were all brought up. It's how we were raised. If your neighbor needs something, you go do it and help them."
In fact, we had people who said, "Yeah, my house just fell apart, but my neighbor needs my help first." And they went to help their neighbor first because their neighbor needed it more. And that's what I love about this place. That's why I'm proud to be a part of this community, because we're mountaineers. Nothing is stronger than the culture we have here of supporting one another.
The folks in this region, in northwestern North Carolina, and the Appalachian folks, they have calluses on their hand. And the calluses on their hand make them stronger. And I think it's always been in the DNA of Western North Carolina. But in my life, the storm kind of brought that out and made me live it and see it. What they lived through and what we lived through is part of our DNA. And those calluses, that's what makes us who we are.
I feel like I learned what it meant to be human. What it meant to be a part of a community. What it meant to make connections, and how important it is for us to show love, kindness, compassion. Nothing mattered except helping and rebuilding and growing. And to just see a community like that come together, that is something that I will never forget, and that is something that I will live with for the rest of my life.
People love each other here in a very deep, real way. People are here to help. It's like there's something in the air, the mountain air, that really just brings everybody together. We can do hard things. This storm was no different in the sense that we were going to figure this out together. Not just me, not just you, but the we of the mountains.
And it reminded me why I live here and why these people, I get emotional, but why these people are my neighbors, you know? And it just kind of put things in perspective for me.
I think we benefited from the fact that this region has been through hard things before. I think it goes back to Appalachia culture too. We are used to hard things and almost thrive in that condition of nobody else can do it but I can. And so many of those people that have that spirit and always have were the driving force behind how we were able to respond so quickly.
And I don't think the community as a whole would have recovered as well and as fast as it did if we didn't have such a strong and resilient community that we live in. And certainly work to still be done, but the neighbors coming together to help each other, the support that we saw both on and off the mountain coming in to help was phenomenal. And you get that drive, I think, from Boone and Watauga County and just northwest North Carolina in general that you don't see in other areas. Being smaller communities, being in a way isolated, if you will, from other areas, it kind of builds that sense of resiliency, that sense of, hey, we can take care of ourselves. We're going to go out. We're going to be able to be okay. We're going to survive. We're going to make things happen. And you certainly saw that right after Helene, that community coming together and really saying, hey, we're not going to wait for somebody to come fix this. We're going to fix it. We're going to make this right. And you saw that all across the area, and that was phenomenal to see.